My name is Mark, this is Zen Talk, and we're talking about Sangha. Alright, what is the Sangha? Generally, the Sangha means the community of Buddhist monks, nuns, novices, and the laity. More specifically, it means the immediate local community that you are currently joining with. Okay, so to be part of a Sangha, you have to be in good standing of the Sangha, meaning not speaking heresies or committing heretical actions, and agreeing to the rules, orders, and moralistic code of principles of the Sangha, and yourself claiming to be a member of the Sangha. Mostly, being a member of the Sangha often requires vows and oaths to a moralistic code of principles. Each Sangha has its own list of rules and codes of conduct that greatly vary from culture and region. Most Western Zen centers use these what's called the 10 precepts, and when you join the laity, you take these 10 precepts. These are 10 moralistic precepts. This is the do not take life, which is sometimes not to kill, do not steal, do not indulge in abusive and inappropriate sexuality, do not lie, do not abuse intoxicants, do not criticize others, do not boast of your attainment or belittle others, do not be mean in giving Dharma teachings or wealth, do not harbor anger, and do not defame the three treasures, which would be the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Okay, those are generally the 10 precepts that most Zen students in the West will take. So, did the Buddha teach us to follow rules? Well, the short answer is no. There is no set of ethics or rules that will bring a person to enlightenment, that being knowing the soul, the purification of the soul, and the liberation of the soul. The Buddha taught and promoted natural law, that is a principle of human conduct that is universally discoverable through reason. So where did the precepts come from? That's those 10 precepts we talked about. Well, the 10 precepts known as Samnaya, that is most commonly for the laity, come from the Buddhist monasteries of South Asia. The Samnaya precepts that Western Zen centers use is the same as children take when entering a monastery for education. And keep in mind, most of the Buddhist monasteries in South Asia also act as the schools, and most of them do receive some sort of government funding. In short, the precepts and the rules are only for monastic life. That means you're in a religious school, to allow for an environment of spiritual soul exploration, purification, and liberation. Alright, so how do the Southern Asians view the rules? Well, I had a chance to befriend a very famous Westerner who became a Theravadan monk, and he told me that people only follow the temple rules, as they call them, while in the temple and wearing the robes. Southern Asians, when not in the temples or in service to the temple, such as in education or a contracted times, can do as they please, meaning they don't follow the rules, or they don't have to. You can also see the same in Japanese culture, where monks who are not in robes or on the temple premises will engage in quite a few behaviors that are seemingly against the precepts. And you will hear this about Japanese priests and monks, that they drink, they smoke, they gamble, and they do all kinds of things that are seemingly against the precepts. But if you were to ask them about that, they would only tell you that those rules only apply when they're on the temple premises and wearing robes. So it is then reasonable to conclude that the precepts and the other rules that may be applied to a person are only valid when they are on the premise of the temple or are engaged in temple activities on or off the temple. So if you're doing a bake sale or a fundraiser or some charity work on behalf of the temple, you would be bound to those rules. Otherwise, once you leave the temple and you're doing your own thing, you are not bound by those rules. Okay, so we do need to have a little discussion here about following orders and order followers. Following orders means doing what you are told to do without judging for yourself whether or not the actions you are being ordered to carry out is right or wrong. Those who follow orders and enforce them on others believe that they are doing right, and that this doing makes a better world. Now, if you go back and look at the 10 precepts, one can begin to see how those precepts can be interpreted in many different ways to mean many different things. As with any set of rules, they can be twisted and corrupted by evildoers, creating destructive cults and mind-controlling others. You assist an evil system most effectively by obeying its orders and decrees. An evil system never deserves such allegiances. An allegiance to it means partaking of the evil. A good person will resist an evil system with his or her soul. That was Mahatma Gandhi. So I do highly recommend you watch the videos by Mark Passio on order followers. You can search for this on YouTube. I'll put a link to this in the description. So what about this? Rules for thee, but not for me. So the next question to ask is, especially when it comes to the rules or the precepts or anything that you will be asked to obey, is for who exactly do the rules apply to, and who can enforce them if they are enforced at all? So ethical guidelines, aka the rules, are always set forth to create a society that is always guided by a set of rulers, and always with the intent to reshape the land to the vision of the rulers and their utopia. This land may be as small as a Zen temple or as large as a country, the entire planet, and beyond. But what happens when the rules do not apply to the lawmakers themselves? And what of the rules forced on those who don't agree with the rules or the vision of utopia that the rulers hold? So then you get tyranny and corruption. Rules that we call laws here in the USA and policies in Europe can easily become unjust, and when they do, that's tyranny. When tyranny occurs, the corrupt, those who benefit from the tyranny, will say and do anything to justify their behavior, and even go as far as blaming the victims of their bad behavior and saying such like, they brought the situation onto themselves. Now we have no choice but to deal with the situation by any means possible. When it gets like that, then all manners of horrors are unleashed. One could never think that a code of morality could ever go wrong until it is interpreted to oppress you. Anarchy. The most common misconception is that without rules, there would be chaos. As we saw in 2020, the rules don't prevent chaos, for that can arise anywhere for numerous reasons. Furthermore, we also saw that the rules simply don't apply to everyone either. What anarchy really means is no rulers, or to abide by natural law. People through all times have made mutual agreements of trade, behaviors, and civics based on reason, their locality, and goals, without any external impositions of a ruler. Alright, so let's look at natural law versus man's law, which is sometimes called positive law. So natural law is based on truth and principles, harmonized with due to knowledge and understanding, universal, it exists and applies anywhere in the universe regardless of location, eternal and immutable, exists and applies as long as the universe exists and cannot be changed. Man's law, based upon dogmatic beliefs, or basically whatever is the construct of your mind at the time, complied with due to fear of punishment. So people follow the laws or they fear the consequences. Differs with location based upon the whims of the legislators or whoever is the rulers of the time, or moral relativism. Changes with the times based upon the whims of the legislators. Again, moral relativism. And you will also can say that a lot of times with man's law, it will be reinterpreted and then reinterpreted again to mean different things because of moral relativism. All right, some conclusions. When you join a Sangha, that would be like a Zen Center or a temple, whatever, you are joining a monastic school. That's really what you are doing. You are joining a monastic school and agreeing to abide by their code of ethics and rules. This is no different than going to a private Catholic school or a public school or anything like that. You are agreeing to abide by their code of ethics and rules because you are joining a school. It is your responsibility to determine if the code and rules are reasonable and based on rational thinking, and to ask questions to gain understanding and insight. If you don't ask the questions, you can't clear up any confusions or any ambiguities that the rules may present. And if the rules are riddled with ambiguities and can be interpreted to mean a great many number of things, then they are not based on rational thinking. They are based on moral relativism. All Zen centers are essentially religious schools, and when you take the precepts, you are then an official student of that school. If you go to another school, you'll have to take their precepts, and you are binded by their codes of conduct and rules, and when you leave that school, you are no longer bound. Buddhism is not a set of moralistic laws and rules. The Buddha never taught to just follow a code of ethics and laws. If there was such a thing, he would have said so, but he didn't. The Buddhism in general teaches and supports natural law. You will find the Buddha talking about natural law, not moralistic law, and not the laws of legislators or kings or rulers. All right. Thank you, and please remember to like and subscribe.